Next, I'd like to call Mr. Allen for item 4, AB 1102. And before he presents, we've been conversing, and the analysis raised amendment concepts that I'm going to be supporting today, and I understand the author like an affirmation that he's prepared to support. So those amendments would delay the effective date of beach burning provisions in Rule 444 on a local government until an approved coastal development permit is obtained and implemented. Secondly, require local governments affected by the rule's beach burning provisions to obtain and implement an approved coastal development permit within a reasonable period of time. 3, expressly require the local government's coastal development permit application to analyze alternatives and mitigation measures that would avoid or minimize the need to remove or restrict the use of fire rings. And 4th, establish that a local government cannot use Rule 444's beach burning nuisance clause as a pretext for avoiding Coastal Act compliance. So I will be supporting those amendments and comment on them after we've heard from the author and the witnesses who are here to testify. So, Mr. Allen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Today, I'm here to present AB 1102 for your consideration. AB 1102 has become necessary due to an effort in Southern California to limit access to our beaches through the removal of our beach bonfire rings. Fire rings have been a part of California's beach lifestyle tradition for decades. They generate significant revenue for our beach cities, and they're part of our lifestyle. I'd like to thank the committee chair, as well as the committee staff, for working with me on amendments to our bill. This legislation will ensure that all Californians have access to our beautiful beaches through the affordable family activity of a wood-burning beach bonfire. AB 1102 will ensure that Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops, church groups, Californians and visitors from all over the world and from all socioeconomic levels continue to enjoy our iconic Southern California beach lifestyle. As the committee may recall, ACR 52, which supports access to California's beaches and the preservation of beach bonfires, received overwhelming support from this committee, both houses of the legislature, and had 60 co-authors last session. The California Coastal Act states in Section 30213, lower cost visitor and recreational facilities shall be protected, encouraged, and where feasible, provided. AB 1102 does just that. Thank you very much for your support.
Thanks. So I trust by your testimony and your cast of witnesses that the Coastal Commission never had so many friends.
It's great to be on the same side.
First witness in support.
Yes, sir. Thank you, members, for a good afternoon. My name is Joe Carcio. I'm a former mayor of Huntington Beach and presently a city council member. And I'm here today because fire pits in Huntington Beach are in danger of being altered or eliminated. Fire pits are critical to our community, and they are an integral part of our community's beach culture, landscape, and outdoor recreational experience. These round-shaped, family-friendly symbols of getting together and celebrating have been an institution for over 60 years locally. Fire pits are an affordable setting for everyone to sit under the stars and enjoy our beautiful beaches and surrounding environment. Now these fire pits are in danger of being compromised or eliminated. The seasonal form of outdoor recreation is a binding force at all levels and for all ages in our community, as well as the surrounding communities. Losing these fire pits would be devastating to our state parks and RV camping sites. For the city of Huntington Beach and its 11 million visitors, the loss or modification of fire pits would cost the city in excess of $1 million in revenue each year. There is no doubt in my mind.
Can I interrupt for just a moment and ask that you make room for the Assemblywoman? Just, you can come with, there's a seat for you over here. You don't have to go to back.
Thank you.
Let's make this bipartisan, shall we?
Mr. Naylor, there's a seat up here you can sit in. So, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you, Sharon. There's no doubt in my mind that the benefits far outweigh the disadvantages. And with all due respect to the dedicated work of the AQMD and what it does, keeping or removing fire pits should be left up to each city for them to decide what is best for their own city. Any compromise is out of the question. I'm here to let you, the members, know that we will not sit idly by, and we need your support to save these fire pits that have provided enjoyment for the past 60 years. We all have a voice, and ours will be loud and clear. keep your mitts off our pits, and we'll see you all at the beach.
Okay. With that, I'm going to ask the other witnesses to hold off and give Assemblywoman a chance to present her perspective.
Good afternoon, members. It's a pleasure to be here. And as you know, I come from Orange County, and along with Assemblymember Travis Allen, this issue has not only been an important issue in Orange County, really started there as far as the dialogue in Newport Beach, but also really stretches further throughout the state of California. And so as we look at this legislation, AB 1102, my hope is that there can be some consensus that comes through from the local jurisdictions, the local city, through the AQMD, because I know that my colleague here really does trust that we want to make sure we don't overreach, as well as what we believe in some cases that we've seen with the AQMD initially looking at 700 fire pits. So this is much more streamlined, but again, I'm very open to us continuing a dialogue to make sure that we include our local partners, AQMD, and the state in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, members, Bob Naylor, representing Friends of the Fire Rings. I might remind the chairman that I used to represent a coastal district, so I'm very favorable to the, personally and on behalf of Friends of the Fire Rings, to preserving low-cost recreational opportunities, and that's really what this is all about. Our polling shows that 86% of residents of Newport Beach support the fire rings, want to see them stay. So we hope that's the way the committee will go, and I want to compliment the staff on developing a very sound set of amendment suggestions.
Thank you. Next witness.
Thank you, Chair and members. Teresa Cook on behalf of the California Travel Association. We want to definitely reiterate thanks to staff as well as the leadership of these two members on this important issue. Certainly urge your support today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Robin Black on behalf of the California Small Business Association. We're here in support of this measure today. We think, and we thank the authors for bringing this measure forward. We think it's important to support tourism in California. This measure will go a long ways to protect that tourism in Orange County and other areas, and therefore support small business in California. So we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Holly Fermini on behalf of the Orange County Board of Supervisors. To reiterate what the Assemblywoman said, members from all over our county, especially the northern and inland part of the county, who don't have a lot of parks. Our parks are the beach in Orange County. So shutting down these beaches once the sun goes down is equivalent of reducing our park hours. So again, we encourage you to support the legislation and keep our parks in a very affordable recreation opportunity in Orange County, which a lot of other things to do there aren't as affordable, to keep them open longer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support?
My name is Isla Basha. I'm a lifelong resident of San Diego, and I'm in strong support of this bill. Growing up as a child, my parents would always take me to the beach, and we'd have bonfires, and it was a great part of my childhood, so I would just be really sad if they were taken away.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Sarah Christie with the California Coastal Commission, and I just want to let the committee know that the commission hasn't had an opportunity to take an official position on this bill yet. But we did have some concerns about the construction, not the intent, but the construction of the bill as it's currently in print. Your staff did reach out to us and asked us to review these amendments. We had a conference call on Friday with our legal team, and we're much more comfortable with the amended language, and we have no concerns at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support or tweeners? If not, witnesses in opposition.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Dr. Barry Wallerstein. I'm the Executive Officer of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and I am appearing here today on behalf of our governing board. Our governing board is opposed to AB 1102 for a variety of reasons. I'd like to quickly run through some of the key ones. First, the board believes that it's premature at this moment in time for the legislature to have to intervene in this matter. Secondly, the bill significantly undermines local and regional regulatory processes, including overturning public workshops and public hearings. The bill also transfers decision-making authority on air pollution control from local districts and local government to the Coastal Commission, contrary to existing law, both in the Public Resources Code, the Health and Safety Code, and a change in what is 40-year-old case law established by the California Supreme Court. There is also a current court case brought by the Friends of the Fire Pits. It is scheduled for its first hearing on January 31st. In the briefing that the plaintiffs filed, they noted the mere existence of AB 1102. Should you pass this bill out of committee today, we believe that the passage out of this committee will be used in that court case, and it's our understanding that the legislature generally allows a court process to move through prior to taking positions on a matter such as this. The bill also ignores what we believe is very substantial scientific data upon which our governing board's findings and decisions was based, including established health effects of wood smoke, particulate matter gradient studies, particulate matter time of day and day of week studies conducted prior to the adoption, and also chemical signature analysis. The bill also overturns, and this is a very important point, not that the others aren't, overturns a local rule that is a balanced measure, doesn't impact 90% of the rings, and principally relies on buffer zones and better spacing for the rings to protect the residents. Relative to the city of Huntington Beach, I think there is a misunderstanding regarding the effect of this bill. Regarding the hundreds and hundreds of fire pits that are located in Huntington Beach, there's only about a dozen affected on the South Beach, and they can simply be spaced out further apart. So we don't expect any loss of fire rings, or certainly not more than a few within the city of Huntington Beach's jurisdiction. The bill also allows open burning of any substance, including toxic materials, since no longer be subject to AQMD regulations. And we believe that its passage will encourage additional bills by anyone unhappy with a decision at a local level. I could continue adding to this list, but for the sake of time, I won't do that. But we do respectfully request that the bill be held in committee. We believe that any existing bumps in the road on implementation of our rule can be and are being handled at the local level. It doesn't require the legislature to get involved at this point. And as an example of this, I'd like to note that this coming Thursday afternoon, there will be a meeting with the city manager representing the city of Newport Beach, Deputy Director Sarb of the Coastal Commission, and myself, to discuss any concerns and to work on coming forward with something that is a consensus in the implementation. And I do believe that we have adequate leeway in how we move forward to address the concerns that the chair expressed and that have been expressed by others. And so there is no real significant economic impact, loss of availability of fire pits, and so on, relative to the Southern California area from implementation of our rule.
Okay, thank you very much. Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Barbara Baird, Chief Deputy Counsel from the AQMD, and I'm here to answer any questions that committee members may have regarding the statutes, the Supreme Court case that Barry mentioned, or the pending litigation.
Thank you. Next witness.
Mr. Chairman and members, Bill McGavin with Coalition for Clean Air. In opposition, I want to first acknowledge that the authors are dealing with an issue that's been very controversial in their districts, and that they're making an effort to arrive at a compromise. But from an air and a public health perspective, we think it's important that this bill be held here in committee. For a long time, we didn't know how hazardous wood smoke is to our health. we do know now. Particulate matter, much of which comes from wood smoke in many of our air basins, causes heart disease, lung disease, premature death, a whole range of illnesses. We think it's very important that our air districts be able to have at their disposal all of the possible tools to reduce particulate matter and protect public health. In this case, the South Coast Air Quality Management District has arrived at a compromise, as Mr. Wallerstein said, which is very different from the original proposal that they were faced with. And when you see that most of the fire rings could actually continue to operate, it's hard to line up the testimony about shutting parks early and taking away affordable recreation with the facts that they could still have many of these fire rings, most of them, available. Public health and air quality shouldn't be subject to a coastal development permit. Those are two different types of processes. A development permit is not an appropriate way to constrain rules that are there to protect our health. So for those reasons, we do have to oppose the bill.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Bonnie Holmes-Jen with the American Lung Association in California. I just wanted to note that the American Lung Association did support the Air District's fire rings regulation when it was passed by the district because of this very serious health hazards posed by wood smoke. These fine particles, whether it's diesel soot or wood smoke soot, all of these particles are very, very serious impacts ranging from asthma attacks to premature deaths. And, of course, the children and teens that frequent these rings are especially vulnerable to the health hazards from smoke pollution. So we think the district did show flexibility in not banning fire rings, but making some accommodation for those local cities and that wanted to have some rings on their beaches, and we appreciate the district's efforts to support cleaner burning alternatives. And we think this is a very important direction to keep going, to support cleaner alternatives that we can have on the beaches and have the ambiance without the very serious health impact. So we would ask the legislature not to preempt the Air District authority and to hold the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Yes, thank you. My name is Barbara Peters, and I live in Corona Del Mar, about 500 feet away from 27 wood-burning fire rings. I came a long way to be here today because this is very personal to me. It's about my health. It's about the health of my family. It's on the line. About 4 years ago, I first learned about the health risks of wood smoke for the first time because my mother-in-law suffered asthma, and she decided she couldn't even come visit us in our home because the smoke that would blow in from the fire rings was simply too much. Out of about 800 fire rings in LA and Orange County, is it really so hard to believe that there's a handful of them that are too close to homes, given the current research that we have? There are 11 homes on my street and 4 recent cancer cases. My neighbor Todd went to the doctor and found out he had stage 4 lung cancer. He died. Another neighbor 2 doors down, his name is Justin, I think he wrote to you folks, 23 years old, also a non-smoker, and they found that he had tumors on his lungs and his heart. He's a cancer survivor. Diane's a stroke victim. She has lung cancer now, and Roger is being tested for possible lung cancer. We wonder who's next. It could be me. It could be one of my kids. Now we know also that the World Health Organization calls fine particulate matter a Group 1 carcinogen. They put it on the same list as plutonium, radium, and asbestos. I don't think the sponsors of this bill knew this when they started this process. That only came out in October of this year. And it's hard to imagine that they would want to cause harm to our health when there's only a few wood-burning fire rings that either need to be moved or replaced with cleaner fuels. I ask you to please hold this bill here. Whatever you decide, you do it knowing that wood smoke is harmful to human health. And this bill, it has a personal impact. It affects people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Yes, sir.
Eddie Moreno with Sierra Club, California. We oppose this bill.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
My name is
yes,
Frank
sir,
Peters.
Yes.
Excuse me. My name is Frank Peters. Thank you for hearing me. I live within about 520 feet of the fire pits in Corona Del Mar. So I'm what you call involuntarily exposed. But people will confront me on that issue and say, well, you knew they were there when you moved. Well, that's true. I knew they were there, but 15, 16 years ago, I had no idea as to the toxic impact of the fire pits. We didn't like the fire pits because of the smell and the noise and all of that. But as we started to look into it, can you imagine the horror we experienced as we looked into the effects of wood smoke health? Premature death is not a phrase that's used around our kitchen table. Others have spoken of the motivations in Newport Beach. 86%, somebody just said, residents of Newport Beach support these firings. How can you hear that and reconcile that with the fact that the Newport Beach City Council voted unanimously over a year ago to remove the fire pits? Now, in the turmoil that has evolved since then, they're committed to working with the AQMD and the Coastal Commission on natural gas, clean burning fuels. Just recently, they voted 6-0 to support the implementation of the clean burning fire ring. So I encourage this committee to hold this bill in committee and give the city and the interested parties time to work out a win-win. Natural gas, clean alternatives, really is the only way to sustain the experience of the fire rings for the long term. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are any other witnesses wanting to testify on this bill? If not, let me first say, in my district, which is the northern one-third of the coast, nobody ever objects when you have a wood fire on the beach. It's just a natural part of things, but there's not nearly as many people and not nearly as many people living close to the beach. In order to establish my Southern California cred and my fire ring cred, I spent quite a bit of time as a child and a teenager at fire rings at Bolsa Chica and Huntington Beach. And I was one of those inland guys who came down from Pasadena. But nonetheless, very familiar with their benefits. On the other hand, one of the reasons I don't live in Southern California was because in the 1960s, when I was a teenager, I was allergic to the smog, literally, and I just could not live in Southern California, so I moved to Northern California. Since then, I think a whole series of small actions have led to a cleaning up of Southern California's air, and it's an amazing transformation. And so I think the Air Quality Management District and local elected officials and the people of Southern California deserve a lot of credit for holding the line and sticking to some very tough, sometimes economically challenging decisions that have led to a much better quality of life. I go down and visit my family in Southern California, and it's a lot better experience than it used to be. We don't want to, I think, dispute the scientific facts that, in fact, has been demonstrated that there is a health hazard. We don't want to suggest that the Air District, we don't want to undermine the authority of the Southern California Air District to regulate the fire rings, even though you can argue that this is a small contribution, but so were the hundreds, maybe thousands of individual actions over the last 30 or 40 years that have led to the improvement in air quality in Southern California. And so I really am a big fan of those accomplishments, even though I don't live in Southern California and haven't for 40 plus years, but I really think that we need to be careful and not undermine that authority. It appears to me that given the meeting on Thursday and the work that's been done to date, that a reasonable solution that is narrowly tailored to mitigate the health impacts of wood smoke while preserving the fire rings is in place and is being worked towards. And I'm optimistic that the Coastal Commission and the district are going to be able to reach an agreement. So the one remaining concern has to do with making sure that there's a coordination between the Coastal Commission's process and the Air District's process, and also the local government, the City of Newport Beach and other local jurisdictions, in their process of obtaining the necessary coastal development permits. So I'm prepared to support this bill today with the amendments, but at the same time, I have an expectation from everything that I've heard that it's going to be worked out administratively. And so if it is worked out administratively, as I expect, I would ask the author to then drop the bill and not proceed with it, And if the fire ring issue was worked out and he chose not to do so, I would actually pull the bill back to committee here and then at that point either vote it down or hold it in committee. So the purpose in our acting, I think, is to do what we and the authors helped accomplish, which was to bring the issue forward and get attention focused on it. But at the same time, I think we want to do that in a way that respects as much as we can the local process and the local authority of the Air Quality Management District. So I will be voting in favor of this bill with the amendments that the author has agreed to, and with the stipulation that it won't move forward when and if these things get worked out administratively.
I'll move the bill under those conditions.
Okay, it's been moved. Questions? First, is there a
Yeah, I just wanted to understand if section, section 4044.15 would stand under the amendments or not, which to me is the kind of pretty clear.
We are replacing the existing language with the
with
the amendment. So,
well, I guess that would address my concerns. I appreciate the amendments because to me, section 2, subsection 4044.15 is a clear interference in local control far more than I've ever conceived of doing it. I just think apart from the issue at hand, do you really want to have a situation? To me, there's some local decisions that I disagree with in my district, and I'm like, well, okay, well, then I want to get one too. I'm going to come back, and next time there's a city council or board of supervisors decision that I disagree with, I'm just going to use 4044.0.15 and decide to throw an identical language in that bill, overturning some other local priority. So I think that it makes sense that the committee would ask to pull back and force a little bit more compromise because I think it's obvious to me that there's a lot, that there's very passionate feelings about the issue on both sides, and that may be one of the reasons why there has not yet been adequate dialogue between local agencies to reach resolution.
Other comments? Well, first, is there a second?
I'll second it too.
Yes, Ms. Garcia.
I want to thank the Assembly member for bringing attention to this issue and forcing the discussion. I think that maybe wasn't happening adequately. I do have concerns about the legislation from the state level down to the local control. I'm not opposed to it always. And so I do hope that the parties do find a resolution before this makes it through the houses in the long haul. And so I want to thank you for that, but I want to echo that concern also about superseding the local control down the line potentially.
Thank you. Ms. Skinner? Oh, I thought that. Comments, questions? We have a motion and a second. Would you like to close? Yes. Ms. Quirk-Silva.
Well, again, I'd like to thank the author and myself as a joint author for taking this issue seriously. And sometimes, again, coming from local government myself and now being in the other seat, I really do see firsthand how we do need to work together. And as you stated that there will be a conversation this Thursday, I fully support the idea that it gets resolved at that level. I think the reason it did arise to our level was certainly some of the burning feelings that came out of this. And I say that not being too slapstick, but mostly because there was a lot of layers to this. And as AQMD looks at their top 100 priorities, this isn't listed. And I'm a firm believer in healthy air and sustainable communities. But when you start looking at how are we going to address some of our health issues, and then this could really, you could see how it could snowball into even barbecues in the backyard. So that's where I became involved, understanding that in Orange County and in many cities across the state of California, going to the beach bonfire is certainly a tradition, but I think we add a kind of expanded feeling that most of us attend a beach fire maybe a handful of times a year. We're not going every night being exposed. So again, those families that live close, I take their issues seriously, but it was that initial 700 fire pits across the state that really rose it to our level, and it felt overreaching. But I appreciate your initiative to work this out as soon as Thursday, and I think that is what we want to see happen.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to clarify a couple points that are very important. First of all, this is not a controversial local issue. Our local support has been massive, far-reaching, and not limited to Southern California. As a matter of fact, at a number of the hearings that the AQMD has provided, they have, we've actually abbreviated commentary because we've had so many people up to speak. This is an issue that people in Southern California are very, very passionate about. There are about 800 beach bonfires that would originally have been under this regulation proposed by the SCA-QMD. Through their modification, now there's only about 100 or so. And yes, there are a couple in Huntington Beach. It is all of the bonfire rings in certain neighborhoods in Newport Beach. This would entirely get rid of our wood-burning beach bonfires in certain areas, and that was originally the intent of this whole process. So what our bill would simply do is take away the power of the AQMD to regulate beach bonfires and put it with the Coastal Commission where it belongs in the first place. AB 1102 has no impact on local control. The bill simply removes the ability of the SCA-QMD to regulate beach bonfires. The SCA-QMD is not a local agency. AB 1102 has no provisions that regulate local authorities in addition. And in fact, the AQMD rules impact the ability of multiple cities to control their own bonfires. This would remove a layer of regulation. To finish, to close, our California beaches are a public resource. They belong not only to the people that live in the neighborhoods who moved in long after the beach bonfires were there, they belong to all Californians, regardless of socioeconomic class, regardless of the time, you know, whether it's the sun's out or the sun's gone down and the only way you can come down to the beach is if there's a nice beach bonfire to warm yourself up by. The appropriate state agency to deal with this issue is the Coastal Commission. We look forward to a positive resolution. Mr. Chair, I'm in full agreement with you. Thank you very much for your support.
Okay, thank you. Well, I want to clarify. The author usually gets the last word, but the chair actually gets the last word. That under the rule that the district is now adopted, and under this bill and the process that's underway to resolve things between the commission and the district, I think that we will have alleviated the circumstance that you described. So
we certainly hope so.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, please call the roll.
Do pass with amendments to Appropriations Committee. Chesbro.
Aye.
Chesbro, aye. Jones.
Aye.
Jones, aye. Bigelow.
Aye.
Bigelow, aye. Garcia.
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Muratsachi. Muratsachi not voting. Patterson. Skinner. Stone.
Aye.
Stone, aye. Williams.
Aye.
Williams, aye.
That bill is out. Thank you, and I really appreciate all the efforts that are underway to resolve this issue on all parties' part. So
thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Stone, we have item 2, AB 474.